Welcome to the Yo-11 podcast. Yo-11 podcast, mostly Vegas no BS casino experience and more. Today we're talking hurricanes and when to get the F out. Michael Trager is a casino and travel loyalty expert who also helps people turn their travel dreams into reality. And now your host, Michael Trager. How's it going, Michael?
It is going very well in the land of rain and hurricanes and tropical storms.
Ain't Florida great?
Ain't Florida great? Yes. And since I know you are going to be the master and drop this episode, this is relatively timely because we are recording this on Tuesday, October 8th at around 5:30 p.m. Eastern time.
And so what are they saying is going to be is hitting out there? Has it been downgraded? It was a category 4 just yesterday, and now it's a tropical storm?
Well, no. It's still 4 or 5 hitting Tampa. But by the time it gets to me, across the state and south, it will be more of a tropical storm.
If that goes according to plan, because I mean they sort of have a mind of their own sometimes. So hoping for the best for you, absolutely, no doubt.
Well, yes, but it's entering through the West Coast, and I'm on the East Coast. I'm on the East Coast and south, and it's entering on the West Coast and sort of heading across the state past Orlando and out to sea again. That's the very positive part about this. If there's a positive part about this, is it is heading out to sea. So I am following the predictions and assumptions that it will not be really bad where I am, but I could be wrong. It's always a gamble. You know, you just have to look at your tolerance level. I figure there's a 5 to 10% chance that I'm totally fucked.
Those are all right odds. Those aren't bad odds. That's
right. So the question becomes, I mean, this is sort of topical, which we'll get to later. The question becomes, what's your risk factor for getting out of town, right? Mm-hmm. Is your risk factor that it's, a 50% chance of, I would say, anything that's a category 3, 4, 5 that's directly hitting you, you should probably get out of town. Not a great idea to stay. But I don't expect that. But of course, that could change, like you say, because I'm not a meteorologist, and neither are you.
That is true.
And even the meteorologists don't know.
Yeah, that's why they have all these like patterns that done up by computer to predict how it's going to go and where it's going to go. So hopefully what you're saying, I mean, tropical storms can still be pretty bad, but I mean, it seems like you'll be okay if everything goes according to plan. But you never know, man. Hopefully everything goes well. So good luck out there.
I've got wine and water.
There you go. But no caviar, which...
No caviar.
What's a hurricane party without... Well, you're new to Florida, so you don't know this yet. I've lived out there once. And
and it was you always had caviar for your hurricane party?
No, not at all. I couldn't afford caviar. Are you kidding? Like I was still in the boat of why do people eat fish eggs? Chicken eggs are so much more substantial. But you've turned me over to that side. You've ruined chicken tenders for me because if it doesn't have caviar on it, there's no point in having chicken tenders. And that's just how it is. I just ruined sushi for someone the other day. I brought them to Nori Bar at Resorts World, and we've had sushi all over the place out here. But there's something about Resorts World at Nori Bar, particularly where the hand rolls, the rice is still warm, and that makes all the difference. And it was
that's a big deal.
Yeah,
the biggest deal with sushi. Sorry to interrupt you.
That's fine.
But the biggest deal with sushi is the rice. There's like a perfect temperature. It's just like a perfect thing with the rice, and if you can nail that, it really makes a difference. That's why like the supermarket sushi is such a bad idea, because it's kept cold and then the rice is all cold. It's not supposed to be that way.
And if you go to normally I've gone to places in New York where they make it in front of you, but even then the rice at best is room temperature. But at Nori Bar is like they had it warming. They were keeping it warm in a rice cooker. And they took it out fresh from there, and it was just still warm. It was just the right amount of warm that when you bit into that salmon and that rice with the seaweed wrap around, oh my God, dude, it was orgasmic.
Well, are you talking about Kusanori?
No,
the Japanese.
The Kusanori was actually closed, but I remember
So tell me about this place at Resorts World. So I'm so baffled because I always think I know everything that's there, and I obviously don't know this. And by the way, when you say just the right amount of warm, does that remind you of the old Cosmo commercials?
Oh
just
yeah, just right
right
amount
amount
of
of wrong.
wrong. Yeah.
Anyway, tell me about this. Have you been holding out on me again?
Oh, I went to Nori Bar once before. It was during opening weekend at Resorts World. I was there for opening night, but it was so packed and crowded I couldn't really get the footage I wanted to get. So I went back the next day, and it was easier to deal with. I got footage of everything because I was putting it on YouTube. But I was hungry and I was looking at all the options. And this is in the food court. This ain't one of the separate restaurants. And there was this
Oh,
place called Nori Bar, and I was like, oh yeah, it sounds like a sushi
wow.
place. And I checked it out and loved it. And then just recently this weekend, I was like, hey, you know what we should do? You want sushi? Let's go to Nori Bar at Resorts World because it is out of this world, and it's very Resorts World is very close by to me. So we went there, and it was just outstanding, and it was just perfect, man. I was like, we've had so much sushi out here in Las Vegas, but this is the best, freshest, the right temperature rice, everything. Like it ruined us for other sushi places out here.
Well, that's a great, but this is like an amazing tip because you don't hear anyone mention that place. This is like very, very good info. And that entire food hall is really cool. I know they've redeveloped a little bit and changed some things around, but
Mhm.
I think it's a really amazing feature of Resorts World. And I want to try that place because you didn't tell me about it.
Oh, dude, it is fantastical. And the thing is, like, you know, you wouldn't expect it necessarily because it's in a food court, but Resorts World
Yeah.
has a lot of, they have Peking duck in their food court. I mean, they have so many things in their food court. I remember that when we did a Resorts World episode, I was like, the equivalency of how many places New York has to eat on property, it's the same for Resorts World. There's just so many places to eat that if you had to be stuck at a hotel casino for a solid week, I would choose Resorts World because there's just I'll never get bored of the food. There's so many options. And Nori Bar
Well,
is
I mean,
just
that's amazing. And I agree. I agree with it. You know, even not knowing about that wonderful Nori bar. But of course, someone disagreed with me on a Facebook group and told me there's nowhere to eat at Resorts World. So it must absolutely be correct.
yeah,
Probably someone who hasn't been to Vegas in 6 years.
I don't know what they're coming where they're coming from with that.
Anyway, do we have news today?
Oh, we do. Remember how you were talking about how
I'm
there's
getting really hungry now, but I mean
yeah,
that's
me too. I shouldn't have done that to myself. But remember how we were
oh
talking earlier how there's 100% chance of a tropical storm, but only like a 5 to 10% chance of you getting screwed. Well, in that spirit, there is 100% chance of an implosion tonight, and only a 5% chance of anyone able to see it in public. But we'll get to that right now. Sin City will quite literally blow a kiss goodbye to the Tropicana before First Light Wednesday in an elaborate implosion that will reduce to rubble the last true mob building on the Las Vegas Strip. The Tropicana's hotel towers are expected to tumble in 22 seconds at 2:30 a.m. Wednesday. The celebration will include a fireworks display and drone show. It will be the first implosion in nearly a decade for a city that loves fresh starts and that has made casino implosions as much a part of its identity as gambling itself. Former casino mogul Steve Wynn changed the way Las Vegas blows up casinos in 1993 with the implosion of the Dunes to make room for the Bellagio. Wynn thought not only to televise the event, but created a fantastical story for the implosion that made it look like pirate ships at his other casino across the street were firing at the dunes. From then on, there was a sense in Las Vegas that destruction at that magnitude was worth witnessing. The city hasn't blown up a strip casino since 2016, when the final tower of the Riviera was leveled for a convention center expansion. This time, the implosion will clear land for a $1.5 billion baseball stadium for the relocating Oakland Athletics, part of the city's latest rebrand into a sports hub. That will leave only the Flamingo from the city's mob era on the Strip. But the Flamingo's original structures are long gone. The casino was completely rebuilt in the 1990s. The Tropicana, the third oldest casino on the Strip, closed in April after welcoming guests for 67 years. Once known as the Tiffany of the Strip for its opulence, it was a frequent haunt of the legendary Rat Pack, while its past under the mob has long cemented its place in Las Vegas lore. And that's going to do it for the news. And now for the views. Michael, what are your thoughts?
sadness, but probably not as much sadness as I have over Mirage.
Right? That seems to be the general consensus. That seems to be the consensus. Like more people were sad about the Mirage, and when it came like, oh, the Tropicana is closing, the majority was like, okay, that's fine. It's good.
I guess you know what? I guess it's sort of it. Just the Tropicana has just not had enough love for like so many years that I think that's part of it. I guess also, but I'm trying to think like how would I equivalently feel about Flamingo? And actually, I do feel a little bit more vibe and connection to Flamingo than I do to Tropicana. Maybe that's just by chance, you know, because I used to play there and I still sometimes play there. So I don't know. I think the Tropicana is an amazing property, and I think the history of it is absolutely amazing. But I just don't feel the connection. And for some reason, it seems like a lot of people don't feel the connection. I guess it hasn't been a place really to play in a while. I mean, other than hearing about some good gambling promotions over the last few years, I guess that's sort of how it was at the end for Riviera also.
Yeah, I agree with you there. If the Flamingo goes on this, the Flamingo right now is the last original mob-owned casino on the Strip. Even though the structures have been renovated and everything since then, but still, it's the last property. But that's not the reason why I feel sentimental about it. But like when I had my first solo trip to Las Vegas on my own, I stayed at Flamingo, admittedly because of the price point, but also because of the history of the Flamingo. And I just want to like play video poker at Bugsy's bar and all that stuff, like all that stuff that I was like at the time I was about. Now I know, of course, the Strip was not started by Bugsy Siegel at all, and blah blah blah. But at the time, the history of it, the location of it. I mean, it's a great spot on the Strip. So yeah, I've always looked at Flamingo with fondness. So if that goes, I'm gonna be kind of sad. I've stayed at the Flamingo actually many times. But yeah, if that goes, that's gonna be, especially the Flamingo Go rooms, which at the time were nice. When they were
It's
brand
so
new.
funny you mention that now because I remember when the go rooms were brand new and they were actually really cool and funky, and they had the TVs and the mirrors in the bathrooms.
Yes.
Now the go rooms are totally like the electronic curtains don't work. The TV's in the mirror in the bathroom, but doesn't work anymore, and they don't have a remote for it, even if you wanted it to work. It's like sad. They had like little audio systems with like CD player and all.
Yep.
It was like a decked out room. It had the automatic drapes. It had the TV in the bathroom. It was like, this is sort of cool.
It was.
Like it was nice, and now it's just aged so badly, and everything is broken.
Yeah, like they had the buttons for the shears and the curtains, the remote that was being held by that weird looking remote control holder on the bathroom wall that looked like a woman holding out her hands. And the TV in the mirror was fantastic. I loved that. That was like favorite things, like TV in a mirror. Who would have thought? And they had a Denon S101 sound system next to the TV, right underneath it, so you could plug in whatever, and it sounded fantastic. They had the mood lighting in the bathroom that had like the pink flamingo lights, the pink, not flamingo lights, but flamingo colored lights in the bathroom, and a lit up closet. And it was all just like, man, this is great. Wow. You know, and that huge headboard that was like, mounted to the wall, very cushiony.
And it was white, right?
Yeah, it was
that
white.
Big
Yeah.
white. I remember, you know, but this is just a perfect example of how like Caesars rolls out a brand new room and then doesn't do anything to maintain it for 20 years.
Yeah, it would be interesting.
It's not 20. I mean, it's just, it is sad though, because I think, you know, it's just dysfunctional. I mean, the entire renovation projects at Paris as well as at Flamingo have been completely dysfunctional. Like they renovated pieces of it and never, like the hotel never became completely all go rooms. It was like a percentage. And then then they did another Flamingo renovation and another. It's like, guys, this is so confusing. And Paris did the same thing. And then there's like always this like little subset of like non-renovated rooms. Like who the fuck are those for? Like, I mean, like
airline pilots.
I mean, who gets those rooms?
Yeah,
I mean, is that like the most unlucky person ever?
That's for the layover airline pilots. That's what that's for.
Oh, okay.
When there's layovers, there's certain rooms that are held for pilots, and they get the most crappiest rooms, unfortunately, and that's probably what that's for.
Well, while we're mentioning airline Pilots, this is probably a good segue into the teas.
Let's get on with the teas.
Okay, today is one of those travel days because I think it's important concepts to talk about, even if you aren't trying to get out of town. But we have called this very timely Hurricane Edition Get Out of Town and how to deal with booking flights to get out of town. So I gave you some little tips and tricks, which I will expand on. Number one, know your airport options, even the airports that are a little bit further. Okay. You might need to expand your search. It might need to be a little bit more inconvenient. You might have to drive an hour and a half to an airport, depending on what's available. Also, certain airports just have more service. Know your connecting airports, because when you want to just get out of town, you're probably going to get out of town on a connecting flight, potentially connecting to somewhere else, as opposed to a nonstop flight. Also, connecting flights tend to be less expensive. You do not want to fly to a connecting airport that might cause a cancellation, because they are also impacted by your weather situation. So check out the connection airports. For example, if you're flying from Palm Beach International to New York and you decide to fly through Charlotte, check out what the weather's looking like in Charlotte, because not a good idea if the same storm that's hitting you in Florida is also about to hit the Carolinas. Move fast. I cannot emphasize this enough. Book first, ponder, and think later. Book first, ponder, think later. Do it. Just do it, okay? When you find it, do it. You can always cancel right afterwards. So many people ponder things and then they're gone. When a storm is approaching and lots of people are trying to book and lots of people are trying to hold seats, seats disappear very, very rapidly, more rapidly than normal. So you must move fast. Understand that if you search for multiple seats, like for 3 people, and there's only 1 seat available, your search is going to fail. So the most prudent thing to do is to search for 1 seat. But, start by searching for the number of seats you need, 2 or 3 seats, and then you can search one by one. Then that question becomes, do all 3 people have to fly? If all 3 people or all 2 people have to fly together on the same itinerary, then you might as well just search for the 2, because if you don't want to break up, then it's not going to matter anyway. One-way searches. Get round trip shit out of your mind, okay? Fewest variables possible. You need to get out of town. You live in X and you want to get to Y. Just search getting out of town one way. There isn't usually much cost savings to a round trip. And once you start to put the round trip flights in, all of the pricing variables and everything get very, very complicated. It also slows you down. So just search one way to get you out of town. Once you book a ticket, if you do book a ticket, always choose a seat, even if it's a bad seat, even if it's a middle seat, even if you don't want that seat. You can always change your seat later. Why? Because if you have no seat assignment, which does happen because you can book flights where there is no ability to assign seats, either because they're all premium seats or because the airline is holding back some of the seat assignments until they're in airport control. So always try to have a seat assignment, because the first people to potentially be denied boarding are those without a seat assignment. Good thing to know. Travel agents can book and hold seats much more easily than via the website in most cases, because they're interfacing with Sabre and Amadeus, which are 2 of the big global booking platforms. It's a good idea to develop a relationship with a travel agent, because travel agents who have your profile and everything in their computer can usually book seats that might be really frustrating on the airline website really, really quickly. The other thing is, too, airline websites can get very bogged down because they're getting a lot more traffic. That doesn't happen as much anymore. But developing it, if you travel throughout the year, it's a good idea to develop a relationship with a travel agent who understands how to do air. Travel agent tickets can be voided within 24 hours, and travel agents can also make changes more quickly. The voided within 24 hours is really nifty, because quite frankly, what happens then is your credit card's authorized, but then it just never settles. And it's not even about refunding the ticket, because it's just voided. This is an interesting one, which I mention all the time, and I don't see a lot of people mention, is consider not bringing your car to the airport. Since you're in the midst of a potential situation with weather and travel, if you regularly drive to the airport, that's great. But if I drive and I leave my car at Palm Beach International, which is PBI, and I wind up having to fly home to Miami because I only could get flights to Miami, it's going to be an absolute pain in the ass getting into Miami and having my car in PBI, because then I'm going to have to Uber from Miami to PBI to get my car. So a lot of times I tell people, leave the car at home, put it in your garage, keep it safe. Good idea to put your car in the garage, and don't bring your car to the airport. I mean, different people, it depends on your situation a little bit, but that also is a situation like if you're trying to get out of New York, leaving your car at JFK and then having to return back to Newark is not going to be particularly convenient. And you can run that scenario in a lot of different places. So just consider that. Also, you don't know how long you're necessarily going to be away. So airport parking ain't cheap. So that is an important thing to do. And moving on to the next slide. Now, this slide is just when things go wrong and you've already booked. One of the things that you have to understand is certain airlines endorse. What does endorse mean? That means an airline can have the option to move your ticket from them to another airline. You need to ask about it, because airlines usually don't offer that. AA will like to rebook you on AA. Delta will like to rebook you on Delta. But airlines like American Airlines have reciprocal agreements with United Airlines. So if AA can't find anything to book you on, they can endorse you over to United. That's something to keep in mind. And if they won't do it, you might want to pressure them to try to do it as best you can. Obviously, these are cases when having elite status or being in an airport lounge can be helpful. Know your airports and co-terminals, airports to adjust to when there is a weather cancellation. So say you don't travel that much and you always are used to flying out of Fort Lauderdale because Fort Lauderdale is 10 minutes away from your home, and you get the alert that Fort Lauderdale flights have canceled and you're going to contact the airline. You want to be able to say to the airline, hey, I'll leave on another flight from Fort Lauderdale, but I'll also leave on a flight from Miami. I'll also leave on a flight from PBI. Good stuff to know. It's the same kind of things also just in general when you have cancellations. If you're in the New York area and you need to get somewhere and your flight's canceled out of JFK, you could say, hey, can we look at LaGuardia? Can we look at Newark? Might not be as convenient for you, but you've got to weigh. Now this becomes one of those situations where you're weighing that situation where, do you need to get out of town? Do you really need to leave? Or is it the convenience of the airport you're going to? So those are things you weigh. But you should know what your other airport possibilities are, because a lot of times when you're talking to an airline, immediately if your flight has been canceled from JFK, they're going to look for other flights from JFK unless you really mention to them and say, hey, also look at LaGuardia. Or they might also look at LaGuardia, but they might not look at Newark because, it's in New Jersey. Who wants to go to Jersey? That's bad. Everyone knows I love New Jersey. And the other one, number 3, hookah. I don't know. Is it hookah? Hookah. Hookah is HUCA. Hang up, call again. So if you call an airline, and this actually is easier said than done. This is great advice in general terms, in general customer service with any travel brand. If you get an agent who is not helpful, could be for a hotel, could be for an airline, they are not helpful for whatever reason. Maybe they just hate you because it's Wednesday. But if someone isn't being helpful, be really polite, say thank you very much, and hang up and call again and try another agent. And you might have to try that multiple times. That becomes harder in weather situations unless you have an elite phone number or you can get through, because the hold times can be bad. But once again, this is your friendly reminder. Develop a relationship with a travel agent, because travel agents can take care of rebooking and you don't have to stay on hold for the airline or deal with hookah. Number 4, I keep thinking like hookah. Number 4, if there is a cancellation, you must move fast. That means like even if you're in the middle of like the most amazing sexual activity, you must stop at that point. and get on rebooking your flight, and you can resume afterwards. You got that, Movestro?
Oh, I'm sorry. For some reason, I did not hear that one particular thing about interrupting sex for a flight.
Okay, good. It's interrupting for rebooking, okay? You see, this is what I go through. People don't move fast. I couldn't move fast. I was in the middle of something.
I was on a heater.
I was on a heater. Even a 20-minute delay can leave no options. Make sure you are set up for all alerts. Redundant alerts are good. Redundancy is good. Get the same alerts via text and via email. It's a good thing. Let it blow up all your devices. Then you know your flight's been canceled, okay? Also, because people tend to, limit sometimes alerts and notifications. This is a life lesson to you. People have to get over the fact that they get too many notifications. We've got this incredible brain that can glance at notifications and know they're not important and just move on with our life. So getting lots of extra notifications should not trigger you. I know some people who are triggered by too many notifications. You need to just get over it, okay? It's not a big deal. Your brain can look and go, this notification, I don't know, vibrator sale at your favorite sex shop. That's a notification. It doesn't need to be like that important. You say, okay, look, that's it. Move on to the next notification.
To some people, that would be important.
Okay. And also, this is a plug for Movestro's new article.
Did you just say plug? I don't think we covered those. Oh, we did. We did.
Anyway, there's a really good article about sex shops in Las Vegas on TravelZork.com. You want to check it out. It's very creative. It's very smart. It's very Movestro.
I do what I can.
And that brings us to number 5. Be kind and be patient.
Yep, there it is.
That's it. So those are some tips. And some of these tips aren't just for hurricane edition, but could be edition for trying to get out of town for your daughter's wedding, and there are weather problems or other kinds of things. So just some tips and trips. I'd love to hear your tips and tricks and the things that you do to book flights when you're in a very tense situation where you need to get something booked, or when you need to get something rebooked because there's been some kind of cancellation.
All right, nicely done. Very good tips there as well. I know you've sometimes found yourself in situations where you need to change your flight at the last minute. I think you just went through something recently. Now, it wasn't hurricane related, but a flight got canceled. They put you on a flight. You were in coach, and you're above coach, so you did this wonderful, amazing wizardry of points and managed to get yourself a nice.
We did an episode on that. I don't know what episode it was.
Yeah, we did an episode of that. So I see that your advice is shining through of, get a crappy seat first and then change it later. And that totally lines up with your brand, man.
Yeah, that's right. And BYOC, bring your own caviar, because they ain't going to serve it to you.
Now, I noticed that earlier we were talking about how no one's going to remember. No one really thinks about the Tropicana. Anyway, and we just talked about how the Tropicana is being imploded tonight for the news story, and then we proceeded to talk only about the Flamingo instead of the Tropicana. So it only goes to show no one really cares about the Tropicana. I mean, I'm sure a few people do. But...
We love you, Tropicana. We really do.
I was thinking about going to the implosion tonight.
Yeah, I feel like Larry David on Curb Your Enthusiasm. I don't know if they really love Tropicana. Not really sure.
What is the deal with Tropicana? Boom, ba-dum, dum, dum. Okay, anyway, so I was thinking of going to the implosion tonight, but the police have made it almost damn near impossible because they've closed so many roads, major roads as well. Not just the roads, but the sidewalks, the pedestrian bridges. The one little glimmer of hope I was looking at with someone is now being used for the implosion people, the demolition crew. They're going to be putting a bunch of equipment and vehicles there, so that's closed to the public too. I'm thinking I'm just going to have to watch it on TV. I've been
get a room at Oyo.
They're booked. I know how much. Oh, you know how much Virgin Hotels booked for tonight? You want to hear it? You want to hear the crazy amount that Virgin booked for tonight on a Tuesday? $9,000.
What?
Yeah, I went to.
You know what this is? Las Vegas is the only city that will overprice hotel rooms near something like an implosion for a property that nobody really cares about.
Right, and everywhere, like
Only in Vegas.
everywhere, it's like 600, 675, $700 just for a room near there, and not even near enough to watch it. But they know that so many people are coming to town for it that they raise like room rates across the board, all across the strip. The room rates are sky high, and you can't even see it for most of those properties. So yeah, man, freaking Virgin, $9,000. Nine
You
thousand
know what?
dollars.
I love capitalism.
It makes the world go round. But yeah, I'm probably just gonna
Exactly.
end up watching it on TV because all the sneaky places I thought of being able to see it is just gonna be inaccessible, and they're preventing people from spectating from garages as well. So it's a whole
Well, keep me
thing.
posted in real time tonight, okay?
Yeah, I'll be like, I am sitting in my comfy chair in front of the television, and I'm watching the implosion. It's gonna be 2 a.m. That'll be Eastern time for 2 a.m. our time, 2:30 a.m. here. So it'll be like 5:30. Oh, you'll be doing your
That's when I
morning
wake up. That's
routine. Yeah, you're doing your
that's
morning routine.
yeah. So that's all good. Okay. Well, I think that wraps up another episode. This was fun, and onward and upwards to the next episode.
All right, and that's going to do it for this episode. Luxury travel booking, TravelZork.travel. Visit us at TravelZork.travel to plan your next amazing vacation, not just to Las Vegas, but anywhere in the world. And you can always catch up with us on social media. You can find us anywhere, so join the conversation. All social medias are at TravelZork. We'll see you next time.